Welcome back here, hour number 2 this morning as we have rolled through this week, getting ready for LSU versus West Virginia in the Super Regionals this weekend. And we've got the hardest working man in Louisiana sports coverage, John Eads, joining us to go in depth on LSU versus West Virginia. Good morning. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
New spot.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it is a new spot. And I pulled in and I was like, well, there's a flower shop. Not to give away exactly where this place is, because I don't want to give, but people wouldn't be able to find it even if I did.
No.
Kind of like a hole in the wall, hidden bunker.
Yeah.
And I love it, man. This is great.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you making your way out here and joining us. And I saw you've been taking some pictures. You've added a new skill set to yourself on game days. You usually got your video and you've been taking some snapshots at games.
It's because NCAA rules don't permit.
Right.
What does permit even mean?
Do not allow.
Do not allow us to.
Permit and consent are the same thing.
Are they?
She gives you permission. You also have consent. That's how I understand the NCAA rules.
Well, they don't permit nor consent us to take video during the game.
There you go.
Which is my least
Forte.
favorite law in any set of laws. Big Hammurabi Code guy myself. Fun fact, but they don't let us take any videos.
Right.
So I can either get on my laptop and live tweet. A lot of other people do that. Kind of boring. I can just sit there and watch the game, which I don't get to do a lot. But I feel like I got to be productive in some fashion.
Right.
We have these little photo cameras that never get used. They're just collecting dust in one of the closets. And I remember taking photos at one of the football games when I first started working here, and I was like, you know what, let's take some photos. They're nowhere near as good as the other people with the massive cameras and stuff, but I enjoy it. It's fun.
I think
get some good shots.
It's been great when you get the shot and then you're taking a picture of the picture and tweeting it out. I love it.
I appreciate it.
That's as good as it gets.
I wish I could just upload what the actual picture is, but I'm not him.
No, it's difficult. But let's start with last weekend before we go in depth to West Virginia. We'll start with the first 2 games. Little Rock game 1, DBU. Everyone was feeling extremely confident after that DBU win, where it was just complete dominance from start to finish. All the facets of the game. LSU looked like the best team in the country when they won that game. Start with just those 2 games, kind of where you were at after those going into the regional final with Little Rock game 1.
Yeah, it looked dominant. What was it, 7-0 and then 12-0, so 19-0, 2 shutouts. I think, and we'll get more into this, I think LSU is like the best Friday, Saturday baseball team probably in the country, and they have for a large majority of the year. I was thinking on the way over here, how many times has LSU lost on a Friday this season? And it's only been a couple of times, Auburn and A&M. The only times they got swept, because otherwise I don't think they lost on a Friday. Certainly not at home. And then Saturday they've only lost a couple times as well. And a lot of it's because of the pitching and Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson. They switch off, they flip days, but it didn't seem to matter. Ianson was remarkable in his first opening start of the season, and Anderson was great in his first kind of game 2 start of the season. So Jay Johnson was looking far in advance, kind of like a mom planning out a vacation to Atlantis, about the itinerary and what we're going to do here and what we're going to do there, and it was perfect. It worked to perfection. And here's something. Remember after the SEC tournament how mad people were that LSU lost and bowed out in the semis and didn't win? Guess which 2 teams are not playing Super Regional baseball this week? Ole Miss and Vanderbilt.
2 teams in the championship game.
Yep. So my thing was, you know what, guys, just be patient. They didn't win the SEC tournament. You'd love to win every tournament you play in, but this isn't the end-all, be-all. Would you rather have Lloyd or Noah a SEC tournament championship or a national championship? Which one means more to you?
Probably a national championship, I would say.
That was my whole thing. I don't understand. I guess people they can't see the forest for the trees. What do you care? An SEC banner does what for you if you're at home during? It should be would you rather? Oh, you take it one step closer. Would you rather host a super regional or win the SEC tournament?
Yeah.
And you've seen Jay do this multiple times where it's been, if I think we're good enough, or I think I know where my team lies. You saw bow out in 2023. It was all right, we got some work in, let's go home. And if you want to go in there and win, it's more taxing on your staff, more taxing on your team. And it's okay, you want to get momentum going. It's we went in there, took 1, got your people some work, and then you'd set that game, set you up for Anthony Einstein to be able to pitch the way that he was.
Yep.
Like, you don't have, if he starts one the next day, and then that throws off the schedule. So he was looking forward to both of these dates, and he knows how his staff operates, and it clearly was a plan of his that worked out perfectly.
And he knew that he was going to bring him back for that
Right.
last inning or so against Little Rock. So even if he didn't pitch the first game of the SEC tournament, like at a certain point, those innings and that lack of rest is going to catch up to you. And he would not have been able to, I don't think, pitch that last couple handful of innings against Little Rock to seal up the regional had he pitched later in that SEC tournament. So I just wanted to say that, like Vanderbilt and Ole Miss looked really good coming out of the SEC tournament, and here they are. They lost in the regional. So LSU was fresh, rested. They played like it in the first two games. The third game against Little Rock there was a weird day, like one of those where every ball bounced Little Rock's way. Tanner Reeves hits what could have been a double down the right field line, but instead their first baseman is shifted, dives,
Double play.
makes the grab. Their shortstop made like
Lands
zero
on the
errors.
base.
Yeah. And then Cano just had a day. It was just one of those days.
He's a
It was
210
their day.
hitter.
Yeah, it happens. It's baseball, and sometimes the ball bounces your way, sometimes it doesn't. Very hot team, pesky team. Even when Jared hit that home run over center field, that center fielder was like
Ran up
inches
the
away
wall
from
like
grabbing it, man.
Bo
It was
Jackson.
Just, it's like that annoying little brother that you just can't seem to put away. No disrespect to Little Rock, all the respect in the world for him.
Yes.
And they finally did. So they got over a large hump there, and hopefully that propels them into a big week against West Virginia. It's just like last year.
Right.
It was a great test too. Like, for some of those guys that haven't played postseason ball or played a major role in postseason baseball, it's like, this is what it's like. It doesn't matter who you're playing. Mikey always said it's a faceless opponent.
Yep.
Nameless opponent. It doesn't matter who it is. You're there to play baseball. You're there to win. But to be in those moments and to be able to be like, okay, I can perform in this. Like, Daniel Dickinson's never played in a regional at home. He's never played in a super regional. But you can see what he's made of. And for those guys to get that experience and now come in and have it be competitive, you could kind of exhale a little bit going into a super. Like, all right, I know what we're in for.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then looking forward to this weekend, we were talking about it before, and you just brought it up about Fridays and Saturdays with those two guys pitching. That's where my confidence lies going into this weekend, is that your goal is to win 2 games, and I don't think there's a team in the country better fit to win 2 games than LSU because of those 2 guys they have on the bump.
Sets you up well. I mean, they're going to give you bare minimum 6 1/3 from a starting standpoint, and it's going to be really good stuff. And then since this is more of a you need to win 2 out of 3 kind of thing, it just sets them up a lot better because you're not going deep into that bullpen and having to get tested on your depth. Cade Anderson said before the season that LSU has 3 different teams that can win a national championship. I think they have 2. I don't know if they have the 3rd yet or the 4th, and you're going to need those to win in Omaha, but you got to get there first. All you need is 2 wins, and the first 2 teams that you're going to see from LSU are phenomenal. And I think it's a pretty good matchup against West Virginia because it's kind of a strange team in the sense that, unlike DBU, there's not a lot of power. They don't field the ball particularly well. They have some decent pitching, but it's not like a lineup that scares you a lot. And it's more of they take advantage of your mistakes to put up runs and to make things happen. And unfortunately for them, LSU does not make a lot of mistakes.
Right. Yeah, and getting into it about West Virginia this weekend, their lineup, we were talking about it before. I mean, they have 5 guys batting 300. The other 4 guys are from 287 to 298, very balanced. But like you said, not a home run hitting team. They got 1 guy with 10 homers. They've got, they don't have anyone
but not
else.
a lot.
Yeah.
He's the only double-digit homer guy,
Right.
I think, and that's Kyle West you're referring to. Yeah.
And they have multiple guys that have double-digit doubles. Like, they hit singles, they hit doubles.
Yeah.
To talk about their lineup and kind of what LSU's going to be facing this weekend.
Very contact-oriented, which obviously it's baseball. That's how you put the ball in play typically. Right. But it really is, and not from the sense of home runs. They do have some power in the sense that they hit a lot of doubles, as you mentioned, but just not a lot of go-yard stuff. And that gives me a lot of confidence, especially with Anderson and Ianson, because this season they really haven't been hit around the yard all that much. Like, Anderson will give up the occasional solo home run. Early in the year, there'd be like back-to-back solo home runs and whatnot, which won't lose you baseball games. Ianson will get into trouble in innings, but it's more so from a single here, a walk here. And then Jay Johnson has said it like multiple times this year. He's the best pitcher he's ever had at getting out of jams and whatnot. And I think that'll be the difference in Game 2. Like, West Virginia will probably get on base a little bit. They might load the bases up. They might get guys in scoring position. If they can get that timely hit, then LSU might be in trouble. They did that against Kentucky. They put up 6 runs in 2 different innings, right? But they did that via a single here, a walk here, and then they got that big swing. If they can get that big swing against Ianson in Game 2, I don't think they're even going to be in the situation against Anderson, which is why I'm just talking about Ianson. Then they might put up a nice fight and potentially steal a game. But I have reason to believe they won't do that. It's a lineup that's kind of built like LSU's. They have a lefty that leads off, Skylar King. He hits 298, 29 walks. So kind of like Curriel, he takes his walks. Not a lot. He doesn't lead the team. He's also struck out 29 times, which is a decent amount. And their 9-hole hitters are really good. Armani Guzman, 337 with 22 RBI, and he's 16 of 18 on stolen bags. So he's kind of like Stanfield, not from a stolen base standpoint, because LSU really didn't steal that many bases, but a high average and a good contact hitter at the bottom of your lineup to flip things over.
Right.
And as far as like the construction of it, I don't really know who Jay wants to go with, Cade or Anthony, if he goes back to how it's been all year or if he has some kind of strategic thing in place. Because there are a lot of switch hitters in this lineup. Like I was going through and looking, we got a lot of lefties, a lot of righties. There's like 4 switch hitters in this West Virginia lineup. That's got to be something that they recruit for specifically. And that might be a reason why they're so contact heavy, is that they can switch a lot, obviously, and there's a lot of versatility. So if you're looking to try to guess who the starter would be based on construction, it's going to be hard to do that because they have like 2 or 3 true righties. Everybody else is either a lefty or a switch hitter. So that might make it difficult. I don't know if LSU's seen a team like that this year that has that many switch hitters.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, the pitching for West Virginia. Obviously, and my thought process is that they're going to go with Kern against LSU. That's their starting lefty.
Yep.
And obviously the theme against LSU throughout the year has been throw a lefty to try to put this lineup down. Talk about the arms that West Virginia has, kind of what LSU's going to go up against.
Yeah, Kern's their best guy. First team All Big 12. Went 7 1/3 against Kentucky, allowed just 1 run. 100 strikeouts, 29 walks, so does not give a lot of free passes away, and a 3.13 ERA in 95 innings. So good numbers, and you mentioned it, lefties, starting lefties especially, and LSU's batting order haven't gone together extremely well this season. So that's going to be a test. I think this first game is going to be a true pitcher's duel, kind of like a Pico Con-esque game, or all the games we saw in Texas A&M. And LSU's won some of those. They have lost some of those. So I think the onus is really going to be upon the Tigers to, when they get free passes, convert. And West Virginia's fielding percentage is extremely low. I think they committed 9 errors in the regional. So you're going to get some opportunities. You might get a infield single that turns into a 2-bagger because there's an overthrow or a misplayed ball. And when you get those 1 or 2 chances in a game, you absolutely have to convert that into a run, because I think they're going to be at a premium in this Saturday game, maybe like a 4-2, 4-3 kind of game. And if LSU can capitalize on those errors, I think they'll be in a good spot. So Kern's obviously their guy. I think where they lack is in the bullpen. They don't have a ton of depth there, and it's not going to factor into this series. I don't think that much, because it's not a regional format where you might play 4 or 5 games. It's 3 max. Their second starter's pretty good, Jack Kartsonis, 64 1/3 innings pitched, under a 3, a sub-3 ERA, averages about 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, and has only given up 16 walks. He was second team all-conference. They had somebody else that started for a majority of the season, but he wasn't performing very well, so he took over. That's why his innings are kind of low, is because he didn't take over as a starting guy until about April. Gave him 5 1/3, allowed 2 runs in his last start in the Clemson regional there, and then they went to the bullpen. And as I mentioned, they have some good bullpen arms, but it's top-heavy, and everybody's got an ERA above at least 3, potentially 4. So there's some decent arms back there, but they really rely on 2 guys. It's Carson Estridge and then Reese Bassinger. Those 2 combined for over half of the bullpen innings in the Clemson regional. So,
I mean, Bassinger pitched in all 3 games.
Yes, and I think Estridge appeared multiple times as well. So they combined for 7 2/3 of the 13 1/3 bullpen innings. So that's why I'm trying to say that, there's not a lot of depth behind those 2, but it may not matter in a series like this, where Kern's probably going to give you a majority of the first game, and then Kartsonis will give you a majority of the second, and then you piece those guys in where you can. So it's a good team. If you make it to this round, this stage, top 16 team in the country, you better have a good team, but there are flaws, there are weaknesses. I think they are West Virginia's fielding, their lack of power, and then the lack of depth in the bullpen. So if you can attack any of those, I think you're in a good spot.
And then on the same kind of conversation, talking about their arms, talk about LSU's bats. What you saw last weekend, kind of where that's at. Obviously, Game 3 was kind of rough, but you saw in Game 4 where Luis Hernandez wakes up for 2 homers. You got Ethan Fry, who might have the hottest bat in the world right now. Jared Jones finally gets the monkey off his back and hits that homer to close it out. Talk about where this lineup is right now and kind of your expectations going into this weekend.
Yeah, it looked really good. I'd say that was one of the most complete performances they've had all year. And they had that multiple times, I would say, throughout this regional where everybody was producing, especially in Game 1. Everybody in the starting lineup got on base at least one time. So that's what this lineup is capable of. I remember Lloyd, myself, and Andre Champagne, we were talking about who needs to step up in this regional, and all the guys that we thought needed to really did. Derek Curiel returned to form, and he just completely transforms this lineup when he is on, and not just when he puts the ball in play, but when he's just getting on base at all. It makes things a lot different for LSU. Stephen Milam as well needed a bounce-back performance, and I'd say he had a pretty good regional. He got on base multiple times, had some timely hits. Would like to see that power return at some point.
Yes.
Maybe that's in the cards for this weekend. And top to bottom, I thought everybody produced. Daniel Dickinson had a big Game 1. Fry was off a little bit. I think against Dallas Baptist, he didn't have a hit. Or maybe it was Little Rock on that Sunday matchup, one of the games. But when you think of Ethan Fry, you think of home runs and power over the weekend, and that's all you think about, in my opinion. So
117 off the bat, double to score 3.
He's leading the team in average, I believe now. So at about 360.
He had to hit it that hard, that center fielder. No way to get one past him.
Unbelievable.
Even if you hit it over the wall, it looked like he was going to bring one back.
Try
And
to
he was
make a
upset
play.
with himself he didn't. It's like, I haven't seen anybody try to climb that wall this year.
He got up there. That was impressive.
It was.
I think someone from that regional is going to end up on LSU's team next year. Just like Zach Cowan did last year. I think Jay Johnson, obviously watched every game. There's one guy, maybe two. They're not going to be extremely heavy in the portal this offseason, from what I understand. But I think somebody from that regional, one of the teams, if they enter the portal, they will end up at LSU. So bookmark that. But
there we go.
I thought the lineup was great. I remember having conversation with fans before the Monday game. They're like, "Oh, Jared Jones needs new eyes. Jared Jones needs to wear those Batman glasses in the box. Maybe he'll get a hit then." I'm like, guys, he's a power hitter. He's in a slump. This stuff happens.
Right.
All it takes is one swing for him to break out of the slump. And what happened, Lloyd?
He got the one swing.
One swing. It was a single, and then what does he do later? He hits the home run.
And his first at bat, he hit the ball hard.
Yes.
Like that's what I was. We were doing the watch party. That's what I was like. That counts for something.
It was
like
a good at bat.
Because Mikey always you're chasing a barrel.
Put a
you
bat
just
on
want
it.
it to feel good.
Yep.
And then he put a barrel on the ball. Next one, he shoots a single to the opposite field. You're
Leadoff
like, okay,
single.
Yep.
this is more of what this is when he plays well. And then you see he gets to lean back on one. You're like, okay, and you needed it too. It was
Yes.
it was
Insurance.
It was
The
insurance
two-run
of the
cushion.
highest regard. Yes.
So what I'm curious about now is if the lineup changes we
what I
saw
was
in
just
that
about to
last
ask
game.
you.
See?
Yep.
So we spent a decent amount of
There
time
you go.
together. We're picking up on it.
There we go.
And I'm going to ask Coach about this later at practice, which is at 11 o'clock today, and then he'll talk afterwards, which will be fun.
That is I don't know if you'll get an answer.
Well, we're not going to get an answer, but I'm going to try to frame the question in a way that maybe could lead you to read the tea leaves a little
There you
bit,
go.
and that's kind of what you got to do. If I don't ask, I know someone's going to ask. Certainly, Koki will ask.
Yes.
If I don't ask.
Yeah,
Love
Coach has no fear or
At all.
like
No, and you
No,
can't.
doesn't
Yeah.
flinch.
Yeah, because people are hungry for information.
Yes.
and we're trying to get it to them.
He did.
Yes.
So
So we had a team drop out that so we had to replace him with when Omaha. He's like, what
What
team
team
was
was
that? He's like, I'm not telling you that.
That was the best. That was the best.
well, you got to ask.
Yeah,
If he
no,
says
of
no, he
course.
says no.
Of course. No, I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved it. I'm glad he did ask.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Because, I mean,
Because
just
you
gotta
never
ask.
know. Maybe he will answer the question.
Right.
You know. So I kind of want to see, and we may not know until they release the starting lineup for Game 1 if they're going to stick with what they did, which was moving Stanfield up, moving Jones down, and kind of just kicking guys up and down a little bit. It worked out well, but I wonder if that was just a one-game thing to get it back the way it was, or if they're going to go back to how it was all year now that Jared's got some confidence back and
Right.
things of that nature. But Jay spent like 2 or 3 minutes after the game explaining why he made each move. And he even said that he put up the lineup in the locker room and wrote down what each guy's responsibility was for that game. And it all made sense.
He's a madman.
He is, but it works. There's a method to that madness.
100%.
So I'll be curious to see what they do with the lineup there because those changes worked out quite well. But I wonder if it was just for that game and what they'll do.
I think that's how you have to operate under like what Jay does as he operates on. And I think the team understands that. Like it's a case-by-case basis of what we're trying to do. Now, it's the same people. For most, it's like you know who your role player guys are, you know who your pivotal guys are, but you also, with that, you understand where I will be positioned might not be the same thing every time.
Yeah.
Like we did have Bear Jones play third this year when everybody's looking for offense. And you see like Little Pearson go in and get some at-bats when I'm looking for offense. And you've seen
squad.
You've seen him make the adjustment with Broswell to Reeves extremely quickly. Like that's on the table. It's just he probably doesn't want to do it in the fourth, but you're down by a significant amount. You need to make a change.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's another thing I wonder about. The Reeves-Braswell thing was a big talking point in late March, early April. And then Braswell started to, find himself.
Started collecting hits.
And the defense was good. It's been good all year. But recently, Jay's been making some moves early in the games, even when they've not necessarily been up. Like, he's been pinch hitting guys in the fourth.
Yeah, he pinch hit John Pearson for Jake Brown early in the game on Sunday, and then it was Braswell got one AB before he pinch hit Reeves or Larson and played Reeves early in that game on Monday. So
and Reeves' defense has been better. And he's
Yes.
always had the bat. So I wonder if they'll continue to kind of do that as well to give a different look maybe is, taking Braswell out after an AB or two and then putting Reeves in because he just brings a different dimension.
I think that's when you look at lefty-righty matchups.
Yeah, maybe not in the first game because, Kern is that lefty and you'd rather have a lefty-righty. Jay loves those opposite hand analytics. But maybe if they go to the bullpen or in game two, they'll look to do that at some point. So,
yeah, and then one of the biggest storylines, I think, for LSU that's kind of built up over the last couple of weeks, and then once again on Monday, is Zach Cowan.
Yeah.
Kind of finding where he fits in now because obviously Texas A&M had 2 appearances that were not clean. Arkansas, he pitched well, but then it turned into, South Carolina in game 1, didn't pitch his best outing again, and then obviously the start against Little Rock getting pulled early when really the mindset going into the game, at least from my standpoint, was you want Cowan to go out there and extend hopefully 4 so you can go Evans for 4 and then, and Jay went and talked about that as well. And then you ended up getting the performance from Evans to get you there. But Zach Cowan, kind of where does he fit in? Your thoughts on kind of what you saw from him this past weekend or maybe even before and kind of what it looks like going forward?
Yeah, tough spot to be in. He hadn't started a game in like a year since he was at Wofford. And a little bit different, throwing on a Friday night in Wofford in the SoCon, right?
Yeah.
Than the NCAA tournament, in a true win-or-go-home game.
Alec box.
But he served his purpose. His job was to go in there and set up for Case and Evans. He doesn't have a ton of velo. So what Jay said after the game is he wanted Cowan in there to have Little Rock thinking slow and then get sped up once Evans came into the game. And it worked out. Like Cowan's throwing low 90s, even, in the 80s with some of his secondary pitches. And then Evans is in there throwing 96, 97 with his good secondary stuff. And as you saw, Little Rock did not adjust well to that. And Evans ran through that lineup 2 or 3 different times, had the 5 in 2/3, 1 run pitching. And
9 straight strikeouts.
9 straight strikeouts was just spectacular. So Cowan served his purpose. But I think that as a Stopper of the Year finalist, he has a bigger expectation because he's been dominant so much this season, not necessarily recently. So absolutely still has a role in this bullpen. I'm just not sure if he's the guy you're going to go to, say, on Saturday. If it's a 3-2 game in the 8th inning, 9th inning, you got to take Anderson out. Yeah. Ideally, you get a CG or darn near a CG from your guys there, and then you can go to the bullpen. But in a scenario here where it's a 2 out of 3, it's interesting because do you go with Evans to close out a Friday night win, or do you want to save him just in case you need a starter for Game 3? That's a tough mental gymnastic
exercise.
A lot of moving pieces.
What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, we actually
talked about it.
Complete game is
the best answer.
Do what?
Complete game would be great.
Yes.
Right.
2 CGs from
Anderson, and they could.
Yes,
they absolutely could.
They have the ability.
Especially against a lineup like this,
Right. No, I think Game 1 holds the utmost importance, obviously, in every single series because you want to win and have your chance to win the series one game out of the next 2, right? And so I think now our discussion really was earlier when we were talking about the possibility of Kaysen going tomorrow to close it out. My thought process was just, he threw 109 pitches Monday night. What does that look like? But, you saw Anthony Einson throw 98 on a Friday and come back on a Monday, not as long of a rest.
Well, look, he had 2 weeks of rest before that,
right?
So that might factor into it.
And so, I think if the mindset is go out there and win Game 1, I wouldn't be surprised if Jay goes Kaysen, his obviously best closer, to go win game number 1 and put you in a position with Anthony Einson, who can go CG, who can make way for Shores or Myers, who has looked good in Myers. To me, if you just need 3 outs. You feel comfortable with him going in. Now, if he has to extend and try to get 6 outs, maybe it's a little tougher because, it was the second inning last weekend in that Game 3 against Little Rock that he really kind of lost it.
Yeah.
But that first inning he came in, it was excellent.
Yeah. I guess with that, it's just, are you going to get that one inning or are you going to get the bad inning if you put him in for one?
Yeah, the shortest leash of all time.
Yes.
Yeah, so
if he comes in and throws 3 straight balls, he's getting yanked.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. They might try him and see if they can squeeze out the win with a Myers or somebody like that. But if he walks one guy,
gone. And you've seen that. You've seen that all year from some of these, some of the fringe guys in the pen that can make a difference, but it becomes if it's not good early, you're gone. There's no figuring it out on the mound. And I think that's why the Cowan conversation has become so interesting because it hasn't been great his last couple of appearances. And it was something that was so set in stone of Anderson to Cowan, Ianson to Evans, and it's this is your 4.
Yeah.
And now it feels like you got 3.
Yep.
Yeah, 3 and a half maybe with a bunch of guys contributing to the half.
Right.
They've shown this year they can match up batter
if you add
batter one.
add up halves, you got 6.5 guys.